So here we're going to be reviewing Anomaly Inc.'s response to Kenobi. For those totally new to the debate, Anomaly is kind of notorious for being a very vociferous defender of the prequel trilogy and just George Lucas in general. And he and Rick Worley are sort of mainstays for people who defend the prequels to cite them as authorities or people who've done good research on the prequels. And I generally agree that Anomaly does know his stuff, but sometimes he does not, and he should admit he doesn't know, but instead he really foolishly commits himself to positions that are pretty horrible, and he does that here with attacking Reva, and he brings a lot of issues to bear, but I think frankly he only brought up one half legitimate point in an entire hour of ranting, so pretty bad video. But let's get to one of the relevant points he brings up, that how did Reva survive? And that's apparently a big issue.
I tried to help them, but I couldn't. I was too weak. When he left, I played dead, hid with the bodies, felt them go cold. They were the only family I knew, and he slaughtered them.
Yeah, here's why this origin story sucks. The difference between a rogue gunman and Anakin Skywalker, the rogue gunman can't sense you with the fucking Force. And Anakin has the highest midichlorian count of any known Jedi, and is the most Force-sensitive Jedi to have ever lived, supposedly. Disney, do you think we are that fucking stupid or something? There is no chance Anakin didn't sense her. You could have put Reva on a distant planet like Kanan was in the Bad Batch and gave her a more plausible chance to escape Order 66, away from one of the most powerful Jedi turned Sith in existence. But nah, this is an Obi-Wan show, and she's gotta have this ultra-deep, super important, and contrived plot relevance to justify to the fans why this character abortion takes center stage.
Well, there's a lot wrong here, but the fatal problem is he's leaning on an outside source. So I would take for granted when we discuss the live action films and television, we're restricted to the live action films and television. We can't go outside that. And if we are going outside that, appeal to outside information will be harmful for your position, especially here, because we know for a fact that Darth Maul survives the quote death he experiences in Phantom Menace. So I think if you're just going with Phantom Menace, it's a pretty reasonable assumption Darth Maul is dead. But if you go outside of it, you're going to be like, no, he's actually alive. And you can bring in Solo in terms of live action. But you'd still be like, wait, is this Darth Maul? Is it a clone? What's going on? But no, if you go to outside material, they will verify it is Darth Maul.
Really, they cut Darth Maul in half, and that didn't stop him from getting robot legs.
That's true.
What did that happen in? Because I saw some comments about that.
It's cartoons.
The
I've got a
Everything
cartoon.
we said, Clone
I don't
Wars or
know.
Rebels or something.
But his hologram appears in
Solo.
Solo,
yeah.
and then there's a low-angle shot where you can see a robot leg.
The red letter media are correct. They may be wrong in the prequels in many ways, but yeah, Darth Maul is alive, and he got sliced in half. Vader is alive, even though he sustained insane injuries. So a lot of villains in Star Wars, from Sidious to Vader to Maul, you go through the list. They can sustain insane injuries or even be killed off, but come back from the dead. So Reva being poked in the stomach? Oh, she needs to be dead, and if she's not dead, she's a diversity hire. So this is Disney racism that the black woman survived. Okay, but you'd have to, at least to be fair, answer the question of why Darth Maul survived. And surprise, Anomaly's not going to answer the question. He's not even going to acknowledge it as a question. Well, that flatly suggests this is a pretty racist video. And it's a pretty stupid video, because now that you're invoking a Disney story outside the live action films and television, well, you don't have anything left. You're like, wait a minute, that can't be right. Unless you think that stomach wound has to be fatal, which is ridiculous, because we saw Anakin just burning completely, and yet he survived, and he thinks Revenge of the Sith is a great movie, so that's nonsensical and self-contradictory. But no, it gets a lot worse throughout the whole video, where he claims that, well, there is a major difference between Anakin and Reva and these other cases because, well, that makes sense. You know, the prequels make sense. There's reasons why this happened. There's reasons that happened. But when he debated the issue on the EFAP, he kind of flatly admitted, no, it doesn't make sense at all. Because when it came to the Trade Federation, he coyly admitted, yeah, we really don't know why they're motivated. And he doesn't care. fact, even George Lucas admitted, I don't really know what motivates the Trade Federation.
Because of course she was going to, for merely existing where she was never meant to. Sure, it doesn't help that they wrote her like absolute shit, but the fact remains that they always intended to play the race card when Star Wars fans rightfully gave them the middle finger for, once again, trying to place an emphasis on yet another token character they cooked up solely for diversity and representation purposes, but the backlash never had anything to do with race. Fans simply wanted an Obi-Wan show about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Wow, what monsters, how dare they?
Name of the goddamn
Oh my gosh, that's
organization.
what they do.
That's
Is they
not-
deal with the trade. They deal with trade and taxes. That's it. I
The
don't know how
World
much.
Trade
Bang my head against the
Organization.
brick wall.
The World
Sorry.
Trade Organization does not dictate what trades America makes. Just because
Right.
they're called the World Trade Organization doesn't mean they control all world trade.
There,
So
there are
the
Trade
some that control all
Federation-
trade. They are a faction that controls trade.
Okay,
There's,
why-
there's,
okay,
there's
so-
something called the
Trade
corporate
Federation
alliance
can't
and shit too.
tax
There's,
the
there's
United
a number
States
of
government.
factions.
So is the question here that it's not clear enough in the film
The
that
question
the
is-
Trade Federation is able to do what they're doing in a
The
legal
question
sense?
is not only
What's
is the mechanism not clear, is about what the fuck the Trade Federation, how they're doing it. We don't understand what the Republic, the set of governments is. We don't understand what the stakes are. And as Anomaly knows, because I saw this from one of his videos, there's an interview with George Lucas where he admits that he doesn't know why the Trade Federation is blocking Naboo, and he doesn't care. So this is just a clear
I remember that.
example of a
Which video?
That's
bad
not what he
writer.
says in the
video?
interview.
This is what he says in the
video is
interview.
it? I remember what he says.
The
I
guy
remember what he said. I
says-
remember what he told that. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
what he's
the
saying.
interview, the guy says, "Why are they blockading the Naboo?" He says, "Whatever, I don't know. It doesn't matter."
He also
I'm pretty
says,
sure that was just
by
a
the
short
way,
answer for the bloody audience. For the,
By the-
the
So, just on Anomaly's word, George Lucas does know what motivated the Trade Federation. Yet, despite all these years, decades later, I hate to say it, but Glib and PS have a solid point. Now, I'm okay with the murkiness. I don't need to know all the details of the Nemoidians or their various factions. I don't need to know all the details of the Trade Federation. But I would admit, if you are curious and you do want to know, yeah, that's left pretty ambiguous. We don't know the specifics of the deal they have with Sidious. I'm okay with the ambiguity, so I've maintained consistency. Reva's motivations being kind of murky, that's fine with me. Gunray's motivations being kind of murky, that's fine with me too. But if you are going to be obsessed with those details and say, I demand answers, and say Reva's the worst character ever because I don't quite know her motivations, I need more details, and then simultaneously say with the Trade Federation, I don't need the details. George said they're greedy. It's in the title crawl. I'm fine with that. Okay, I think we get enough with Reva. She's vengeful. She wants revenge. She's pretty hot-headed. Shouldn't that be sufficient? No, this is the worst character of all time. For reasons? Because you'd have to logically conclude the only real logical difference is Ray Park is alive. Darth Maul is alive because, what, he's a white man? And Reva is being maintained alive because she's a black woman. So the only reason was out of racist reasons for both George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy. Okay, at least you're being consistent. But no, you're saying Kathleen's a racist. George is not a racist. Well, how's that work? Well, why'd the white man come back from the dead? Why is he using racial stereotypes in the prequels? Which he is. That's undeniable. But we're still assuming good motivations for the Trade Federation and for George Lucas because you think George does know the answer, and I like George. Well, I can like George too. You didn't answer the question. In fact, you got it all wrong because you said, oh, well, see, they're part of the corporate alliance. You're just not paying attention. The corporate alliance is in Attack of the Clones. It's not in Phantom Menace. So you're just wrong. Even when claiming to speak for the prequels, you get basic facts wrong. And now you're adding racism to the discussion. Fairly disappointing outing by Anomaly. He did raise, however, one sort of legitimate point. We'll get to that, but this video is a complete mess. It really has earned only downvotes. Are these some critical details? I think it's a question mark, but if you do insist on clarity, George Lucas did not provide it. There are definitely a lot of puzzles and questions with the Phantom Menace. I'm okay with that, and I'm willing to be open-minded about whether he did contradict himself with the Nemoidians and the Trade Federation. That's a fair thing. I'm not going to insist just because they look like a Chinese stereotype. Well, George Lucas is a KKK racist, and the writing in the prequels is all garbage. I need more than that. But if we think details are important, we got enough details with Reva. If you think we need more details, well, it seems you want a certain political standard to be met, and that is not legitimate because the reasons you give are pretty pathetic.